Hello, avid readers, book nerds, or casual observers. Welcome to the read-along brought to you by the Lit Round Table. I'm Anna.
And I'm Joseph, and this is our discussion of the Lies of Locke Lamora, Book 1 of the Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I guess let's dive into what we think so far of the Lies of Locke Lamora.
Yes.
I, personally, very excited. I am really into it so far. I think it's really shaping up to be kind of a heist novel, which I don't know if I was 100% expecting, although since it's about like thieves and stuff, I guess I could have guessed that it would go that direction with trying to pull off some kind of complicated scheme. But
Sure.
I'm really especially digging, and I knew that it was coming since just from what other readers have said online, I'm really, really loving the relationship between the characters and the rapport between characters. It feels very well established, and I'm here for it, and I'm already really invested in some of the friendships that you see. What do you think so far?
I originally planned to listen to it on Audible.
Right.
Because I do a lot of reading through listening anymore. But I listened to the prologue, the whole thing, and was like, wow, I am so confused. Because they use a lot of flashbacks.
They do, yeah.
Which we'll get into. And that works really well when you're reading with your eyes.
Uh-huh.
And there are visual cues that the writer does. Like he breaks it into different sections. So you can see those sections when you're reading. You cannot hear those sections when you're listening.
Yeah, I only ever read it. I didn't do an audiobook version, so I'm glad that I'd read it because I didn't realize, like you just said, that they don't at least acknowledge that there was a break.
Right.
in the chunk. So yeah, that would have been almost impossible to figure out what the heck was going on.
Yeah. So I listened to the prologue and then I read the prologue.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can totally track with what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
So it is definitely a book that, at least for me, I have to read, which is fine. It's good for me to have actual reading books too.
Sure.
Versus just listening. But
I guess spoilers now. If you haven't read it yet, skip ahead. If you haven't yet read the prologue and chapter 1, but now we'll get into more spoiler territory for what's happened so far.
If you're listening on YouTube, we'll put a timestamp.
Yeah.
I don't know how we'll do that on the podcast. If you're the podcast, listen like on the Apple podcast or Spotify, just scrub forward.
Yeah, just scroll a little bit.
Use that 30-second skip button a couple times.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. You're savvy.
Yeah, so let's talk about the prologue in chapter 1, but I did want to just say that I had no preconceived notions going into this book because it was your pick.
That's right. I'm the one that did the research about this one beforehand, not you.
So I didn't know anything about it going in. And just based on the cover, I thought it was going to be a book about pirates, which they're kind of pirates.
I mean, yeah, they're thieves.
They're pirates of the ground.
They're rogues.
So
pirates of the ground. That's what we're gonna call thieves now. Oh, those are land pirates.
I mean, am I wrong?
You're technically correct. But that's just a bizarre. Anyway,
my point was that I went in without any preconceived notions. I had no clue what it was going to be about. So, let's start with the prologue. So the prologue is
basically introducing the main character, which is Locke Lamora, but we see him as a small boy now.
Starting at the age of 5 or 6.
Right, so he's very young. And he's basically just a plague survivor from an area of the city that was quarantined off from some sickness that had just killed the majority of the people, which was a little too close to home.
Yeah, I was like,
It's currently February 2021, still dealing with COVID. We're in America, still dealing with COVID. And that, yeah, that first, the plague, yeah. But
that aside,
it sounds like their mortality rate was much higher than ours, so I'm thankful that
yes,
COVID is not like that. But anyway, he's a plague survivor. He gets picked up by the quote-unquote the thief maker, which is kind of this title this guy is, I guess, given himself, it seems.
My understanding was that he kind of earned it. Like, he didn't start out that way, but then he just kind of started adopting all these orphans and turning them into little thieves.
Yeah,
he runs this, became known as a thief maker.
Yeah, and now he just runs this massive underground, literally underground, like they operate under a graveyard.
The tombs, in the catacombs. There's a whole section where they talk about the previous occupants, which are dead people.
So I guess they just chucked the skeletons in the ocean and
the river. Yeah,
just they're living in these catacombs now, which is like really interesting.
It's disturbing, but the way it's described, I made a note because it said several times that it was wooden dragon ribbed walls, and I was like, wow, that is such a cool description.
That is cool. So yeah, this Locke Lamora gets picked up by the Thief Maker. Well, he wasn't even recruited by the Thief Maker. He just tags along in the group. Yeah. Because he felt like going with them. And then he was just extra. And he wasn't even supposed to be there. But then it turns out that he was an orphan before the plague even hit and had been picking pockets for a long time. And he's only 5 or 6. Right. And he was already like this really skilled thief. Mm-hmm. So,
which I don't know how much you were like keeping track of like the timeline, because it flashes back and I'll say like it was 3 months after he had joined the Thief Maker and blah blah blah. Yeah. But basically, what I figured out was he was 5 or 6 when he joined the Thief Maker, and by the time he was 7 or 8, the Thief Maker was either going to kill him or sell him.
Yeah. Didn't take him long.
No.
To get real sick of him.
Yeah. And he's just like he's a child.
Yeah.
He is younger than the kids that I'm doing book club with.
Was literally going to cut his throat and throw him in the ocean.
Yeah. Which we're laughing about, but you just have to, if you haven't read it.
It's basically just the dialogue that is used by the Thief Maker is very like, you little piece of crap.
Right.
Like, you are ruining my criminal empire here.
Because you're too good.
Yeah, you like stealing too much. He literally uses this description when talking to the man that he's going to try to sell him to. He says, if his throat was slit and he was bleeding out and a doctor was trying to sew him up to heal him, he would steal the needle and thread and die.
Yeah.
Because he just likes stealing that much. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that is a really violent and fun description.
Yeah.
for describing how much this kid really enjoys stealing, and basically ends up getting sold off to this priest who
is not actually a priest.
Who also is
a priest.
Well, is okay. He says he is a priest, but he's not. He's another bizarre character, similar to the Thief Maker. Him and the Thief Maker have this like rapport. Also,
but that's all. So basically, what you learn in the prologue is that the whole city is totally corrupt.
Oh,
because the Thief Maker also has a deal with the city guard, where, hey, you don't notice that we have these orphans that were
it's a wretched hive of scum and villainy.
As little thieves, and we won't ever pick your pockets if you just turn a blind eye. And one of the first offenses that Locke has is that he stole one of the Yellow Jackets' purses. Yeah.
Broke the peace within hours.
Before he was even technically part of the Thief Maker's crew.
Already.
Yeah.
And yeah, suffice to say, he started getting way bigger ideas than what the Thief Maker was comfortable with executing as far as like schemes and whatnot. Ended up getting an entire tavern burned to the ground by starting a fake plague scare.
Right. Which...
At the ripe old age of 6 or 7 or whatever, how old he was.
A child. Still.
Yeah.
But that wasn't even the offense, so they got him kicked out.
No, but I'm just saying, this kid is diabolical.
Yes.
He's diabolical. But yeah, he ends up getting sold off to this priest, and that's kind of... And then the priest says, okay, I want you to tell me everything that you did in detail. Don't leave anything out. I'll know if you're lying. And I have the okay from my boss to kill you too, just so you know if I think you're lying. And then that's the end of the prologue. Yeah. And then...
Because you find out that there's like... In order for the Thief Maker and the priest whose name is Chains to basically murder someone, is they have to get it approved by... city officials that they'll turn a blind eye to that too. Like super corrupt. Everyone's a bad guy. Really. Yeah.
And I forget the name of the character that's kind of the big Don something. Don.
No, it's Kappa.
Oh, okay.
It's Kappa Baval. Let me open my book.
I guess I think Don because they seem like a mafia Don to me.
Well, the Don Lorenzo is in the first chapter, and
Oh,
he's
you're
the
right.
Okay, so they're in the city of Camor. It's a death mark. Is basically what the thief maker had bought from Kappa Barsavi.
Right. That's his name.
And then when Father Chains purchased Locke from the thief maker, he also purchased the death mark. So basically,
Chains kind of revoked the right to kill him at any point.
yes, and is making, which talk about an abusive relationship, is making
Yeah.
Locke wear this death mark around his neck as a reminder that if you screw up, you're dead. And
Yeah.
we are not going to have to talk about it because we already have the death mark for you. So, dark start for this poor kid.
Yeah, but it's interesting that it's kind of it's really dark, but it has such a comedic twist to it as well with the dialogue and the rapport between the characters. It's
Yeah.
kind of like it reminded me of Good Omens.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just especially with like because Good Omens also uses tons of flashbacks.
Yeah.
And the rapport between the angel and the demon, I forget their names. It's been a really long time since I watched that show. David Tennant's character.
Crawley and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aziraphale or something. Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Along a name.
Yeah. But anyway, and especially since it was like the thief maker and a priest, like that relation, it kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, there's just you hate to like them so far.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I like you, and I hate that I like you because you're a terrible person, but I
Yeah.
really enjoy reading you.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's basically been my experience.
No, that's totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
That totally makes sense. And then when you get into chapter 1, Locke has grown up. You figure out they've got another kid with them who's 12, and they say that they're about twice his age. So my guess is that Locke is about 24 at this point.
Yeah, and so Chains, the priest, bought Locke, and he has been living with the priest, and he has now started his own group. Kind of. Well, they still call themselves the Gentleman Bastards. I think that's just kind of what they call their club of friends.
My understanding was that he's still very much, because the guys that he's hanging out with were also part of Father Chains' crew. So Father Chains is a priest, but he's really just another thief maker.
He's a con man.
Yeah.
But he may actually believe that he is a priest under a certain god in this hierarchy of deities that is like the god of thieves or something.
Right.
Who isn't mentioned by any other group, and it's like, dude, you just made this guy up to justify your actions, but whatever. He's an interesting character too, but yeah, so he's still operating with the priest, and in chapter 1, we really just get the opening sequence of their kind of sting, where they're just trying to get in. They're trying to get in with this Don Lorenzo character, who is really wealthy, and they're just trying to steal all his money. They've basically convinced him that they're foreigners, and they're kind of just masquerading as these foreigners and trying to seem really innocent. And they've convinced him pretty well, I think, that they have good intentions. And I'm really interested to see in the next few chapters what the rest of their plan looks like and how they're planning on separating this man from his wealth. But
yeah, I'm really curious to see how it all plays out too.
Yeah, I just want to know what the plan is.
Yeah.
So
right.
That's kind of where we are, though.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to it? I'm really loving it so far, though.
Let's see. Language is a bit strong.
That's true. Yeah, we mentioned that last time. There's a lot of adult language in this.
Yeah.
But it is an adult fantasy, not a YA fantasy. Yeah. So,
which there are plenty of adult fantasy that did not have language like this, but I do think that it fits the characterization well.
Yes. Because these are
it would be weirder
criminals.
if it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Not that criminals.
Okay, yeah, I should rephrase. It's not like only criminals use crude language, but it makes sense when you think about their upbringing and like this is all they've known their entire lives. The only mentor figures they have ever had have also used this language.
Right.
You know, the thief maker, Chains, they also use this language. So it's no shock, you know.
No.
So
it's not Regency England.
No, and they're probably used to getting cursed out by people that they're trying to pickpocket. So
yeah, although I don't think they get caught very often.
No, but when you do, you know they get cursed out.
Oh no, I'm sure.
Yeah,
they're very sneaky. So the flashback element is really interesting, and you see that even like it was really evident in the prologue, It's even evident in this chapter because it goes
Yes.
back and forth between, well, now they're prepping, like the first section, they're like waiting for the first touch to happen. And then it goes back and talks about some of the prep work they did.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to the guy that's watching to make sure everything's okay. And then it goes back to like, oh, they're putting costumes on. Like it goes back and forth a fair amount. But it's not distracting. And because the chapters are so long, I really appreciate the way the author has split the chapter into like mini sections.
Yeah, it's been makes it much more easier to digest by splitting the chapters up in these sections. And I've never read a book like this where
No,
he
me
deals
either.
with flashbacks like this. So it's been really interesting and I think good. I'm curious to see if the whole book will be like this or
Yeah.
if it's just kind of this first chunk. But even if the whole book is like this, I think I guess we'll see if they pull it off, but I think it'll be good. But
He's doing it with a very deft hand right now. So
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if the whole book is this
Yeah.
way. But yeah. So really liking it. Super excited for chapters 2 and 3 for the next podcast. Actually had a hard time stopping.
I know.
Because I don't want to read too far ahead. Because I
I
don't
know.
want to like get lost and then not know where we're at. We're like texting each other. Oh my gosh. Have you read this chapter yet?
I know.
I just finished this chapter. Oh my gosh.
And it's like, oh, but I want to wait to talk to you about it until the podcast. And it's like, but I want to talk about it with
I know.
someone.
Like even when we were setting up tonight.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what do you think about this part? Oh, no.
Gotta
I'm
save
gonna
it. Gotta save it for the podcast. I will say there was only one flashback that threw me off where I was like, wait, when is this? And it was like the very last section when because there was like a really big chunk of like current events of like the heist being pulled off, and then the very end there was a chunk where it went back in time again, and I like suddenly forgot which book I was reading, and I was like, wait, what? Oh yeah, this is a flashback.
But that section has a different title. Like it has a subtitle on it. It's like
Oh yeah, no.
Locke's-
It was totally my fault that I didn't realize. So I'm
Okay.
just saying it only happened one time, and it was dumb, and I shouldn't have been confused.
Gotcha.
But
I don't think that's dumb though.
right. I'm just saying if you're reading along and you don't like the flashback element, I get it, but I don't think that it's not like it's making it more difficult for me to read personally. Exciting times.
Yes,
I'm
very.
excited to read more now.
Me too.
And that concludes today's discussion on the Lies of Locke Lamora. Look forward to our next discussion. Until then, happy reading.